Because we switching to the football now?
Yeah. So we switching to the football now. And, I just want to see, as you're talking about Qatar, it's a meme, right? Mm-hmm. Where people in Qatar were saying, welcome to Qatar, to the Qatar football team.
Welcome to Qatar.
Welcome the Qatar football team to Qatar.
Were they not from Qatar?
About 10 of the players not from there, boy.
Serious?
Yeah, boy.
Where they from?
I don't know where they're from, but it had they do a breakdown of. Well, I mean, they probably citizens there, right? Don't get me wrong.
No, I understand what you mean.
But like with players who weren't born in the actual country, but then
but that's basically a city state, that tiny place. So I would expect, but it's not like if they brought people who weren't. It's not like they bring us to the Brazilians. But
no, but I just
them fellas look Middle Eastern, you know what I mean? So maybe they might have been born in the UAE, they might have been born in Oman, in Jordan, or you know what I mean? They might, but because Qatar is a real tiny place, so I would have expected that not all of them were actually born there, but it's different to like France, where most of their players were actually born in France, but the point is they don't look French.
Because I see the thing is, that they tried to have that debate, people are trying to have that debate there already. Like in this World Cup now, and then so it come out there, I think there's only 3 of them that who playing for France now that wasn't born
in France. Yeah. And they're not, as far as I'm aware, none of them are top-notch, top players on the team, right? But yeah, most of them are born in France, right? They have African heritage, but they're born in France. But the point I'm making is that it's not like if Qatar brought a set of Brazilians and give them citizenship to play for Qatar. You know what I mean? At least they don't look so. All them fellas look Middle Eastern. So, and if they had done that, they probably would have played better because they play real shit, boy. They play real shit. That was probably the most disappointing thing I encountered. They were the most disappointing team because, I mean, they've been hearing for so many years how much Qatar was investing in the football to make sure they don't embarrass themselves, right? They're a tiny nation. They don't have no rich football in history, so they've been investing. They built this big Aspire coaching academy there. They bring in all these Barca connections. They had Xavi coaching one of the club teams, the top club team. Half the players who played for the national side used to play for the side that Xavi was coaching. So they had that, and then the coach is a former Barca youth player, and so they did all that. And the fact that they kept them together, they didn't play in no foreign leagues. All them play.
That's probably the problem.
No, and the thing is, I remember telling a virgin, like, I don't expect them to be top notch in terms of technical ability, right? And maybe they might even be slow because, they don't really look like players with lots of pace now, you know what I mean? But I expected that they would have played with a certain degree of chemistry, kind of like how South Korea played today and Japan plays, where the athleticism is not there, right? And to some extent, especially with South Korea, the technical ability is not there, right? But at all points in time, the players know...
They look like a unit.
And everybody knows what the plan is. They can't execute the plan because they're playing with, like today, or when they played against a much better team, they couldn't execute the plan. But they have a plan. At no stage in any of the 3 games that Qatar played did they look like they had a plan. They never looked like they had a plan as to what sort of football they were playing. So I was like, what was happening for them 10 years that they've been developing this football for and keeping that team together? So they were exceedingly disappointed. So we can start with that. Was the most disappointing team for me was Qatar.
I honestly have been watching the games in that intently. I watched the game today, the Brazil and South Korea game. For me, I would say one of the teams I find was real disappointing was the US, boy. I find the US look like they scraped through most of the games. I see like 3 of the games. And I find it look like they struggle now, boy. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I find it look like they're playing off a real luck. You understand? Luck and chance more than a proper set plays and that kind of thing now, boy.
I saw the struggles in qualification, so I knew America was not a good team, right? In fact, I'm surprised they made it out of the group. And they were, to be fair, in a fairly tough group with England and Wales and who else they play by? It was Iran, right, yeah. And So I am surprised they got out of their group because they don't really have much quality. They do have a lot of pace. They're superior athletes, and they tried to use that against Holland, and Holland was like, "Nah, bro.
This is about skill.
This is about the talent. Talent has something to do with this."
Yeah.
And they picked them apart. But I was really surprised that they played because, as I say, I saw the struggles in qualification, and it's CONCACAF they're qualifying from, and they don't look like world beaters in CONCACAF, you know. But I guess if you weren't paying attention to the qualifiers,
but I think the 2 World Cups prior to this one, the team was a bit better though.
Yeah. Well, they didn't make the last World Cup.
Well, so the one prior to that,
the one before that,
the one prior, the 2 World Cups before, when they were playing, the team was better. I think that when the German coach,
Klinsmann.
I can't remember his name.
I can't remember if Klinsmann
but
was
he was
the
not.
coach.
I don't think he was American. The coach was not American.
Well, Klinsmann was the US coach at the point in time. I don't think he took them to the World Cup. I think he was in charge when we beat them here and put them out. I believe I can't remember. To be honest, it's all blurring into one now.
Yeah.
I can't remember if Reina fella who's played for the US team now. His father was the coach at the point in time, and I think he might have been the coach. No, it was Bruce Arena. Bruce Arena was the coach at that time. But anyway, they struggled in qualifying, so I didn't really expect them to get that far. As I say, as a matter of fact, they surprised me by getting out of the group stage, and the fact that people were favoring them to beat Holland. I just kept asking people, are they mad or like,
Nah. To be fair, I understand why. Because I think there are some people who really like Holland, and there are some people who don't know Holland. You understand what I'm saying? And I am one of the people who don't know Holland.
Oh, okay.
You understand what I'm saying? No, I didn't think they'd beat Holland. Because the amount of faith a lot of people have in Holland, I think, well, Holland had to be a good team.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right,
because it has some people who are real... I have an uncle who believes in Holland in every friggin' World Cup ever. And is puzzling shit out of me like, what?
But Holland make a World Cup finals, bro.
Right.
In our lifetime, in 2010.
Right.
They make the semi-finals last World Cup they made the semi-finals? I believe so. They made the finals in 2010. I think they made the semi-finals in 2014. We had one before that, so 2018. Now they didn't make, I can't remember where they reached in 2018. But Holland has performed pretty well in consecutive World Cups for years now. So Holland have big stars, bro.
Well, I know you see some star players, names in Holland, but I just don't see
this is one of the weaker teams. This is one of the weaker teams in
I just don't see them as a footballing country. I don't know why.
Wow.
I don't know why.
Dog, Johan Cruyff, the architect of Barca style of football and the Dutch total football style. Well, he's not the architect of it, but he's, he was one of the most famous proponents. Johan Cruyff is an all-time great, Dan.
But he took it to Barca, so I would recognize it more as a Barca thing.
No, but he played for Holland. He was
No,
Dutch.
but I was saying I would recognize it more as a Barca thing than a Holland thing. You understand what I'm saying?
I just saying this.
And remember, I'm not into sports as much as always. So, sports for me disconnect with me when I get popular. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
So things like Champions League, right? Because I say Champions League put it in the Barca, but in terms of Premier League with other things, that is where I go pick up on things, and then I go just watch World Cup when World Cup reach. You understand what I'm saying?
So you don't know Clarence Seedorf, you don't know Kluivert, you don't know Rijkaard, you don't know
I can't recall.
Van Basten.
Nah,
names don't mean nothing to you.
Nah.
Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah, Bergkamp and Reed Bergkamp name, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, all of them was big Dutch players. And now in years gone by, but what I mean is they've always been a big footballing nation. Now they are the biggest nation, one of the big nations that's never won the World Cup. Until 2010, it was Spain was another one. And the two of them met in the final. So in that finals, one of them was going to banish but Holland had actually been much more successful than Spain up until that point in terms of
reaching through and how far they reach.
Yeah. So but Holland is one of them big nations. So okay, the most disappointing for me was Qatar. The most surprising, who surprised me, boy? Who has surprised me? I would have said Saudi Arabia if they had played well in the other two games after beating Argentina. But they didn't. So that was just a fluke, really.
But who are you supporting in this?
Argentina.
But I know this is what I'm saying. So
All
So
the time.
So you think that is what was surprising that they beat your team?
Well, I mean, I didn't expect them to have that amount of venom in them. But what I'm saying is, I was thinking that. But if they had gone on to continue to play that way, then I would have said, I hold my hands up with that. But I think what happened when they played Argentina was for 10 or 15 minutes at the beginning of the second half, they turned up the heat on Argentina in a way that Argentina didn't expect. And and unlike most teams in this World Cup, when they had that period of dominance, they scored. And so they equalized, and then they went 2-1 up, and then they just defended defended for their lives for the rest of the game. And that was enough to beat Argentina. But I think what really made the difference in that game is that Argentina didn't expect them to come out in the second half, pressing them that high up the field. The first half, you watched the game?
No.
But in the first half, Argentina got a bullshit penalty. They never should have got that penalty. Right? I'll be first to say that. That was a shit penalty. Shouldn't happen. But they got the penalty, they went 1-0 up. And then after that, they kept getting goals that was called offside. Right? But Saudi Arabia weren't pressing them until they crossed the half line with the ball. So they were giving Messi enough time and space to kind of pick passes out. And it's only because Lautaro and them couldn't stay on side. And Messi too couldn't stay on side that they didn't... And to be fair, one of Lautaro's goals, I still think was a good goal. That bullshit, they're trying to tell me that a man offside because he shoulder blade. That is nonsense. But whatever. And I think Argentina went into the half thinking, oh, well, it's just a matter of when we get the next goal and kill off the game. Because Saudi Arabia they weren't really putting up a fight in the first half, and Argentina were just creating chance after chances, but they were careless in how they were, in whether they were staying on side or not. And well, I don't know if you saw the video of the halftime speech the coach gave.
Right,
with him in the locker room.
Yeah.
And clearly you see what kind of wake them up.
He say, you want to take a picture with Messi.
Yeah, take a picture with him. And they went out and for 10 minutes, Argentina thought the game would have started back, and they'd go, all right, cool. So we just go back to knocking the ball. They'll let us come up the field, and then we'll take it. But Saudi was like, nah, fuck that. We coming in your half of the field, and we are taking the ball from you. And they did that. And they equalized, and Argentina was shell-shocked, and then they come and they press high again, Messi lost the ball, boom, second goal, and Argentina, they're lost now, like, what is happening here? And they went on to lose the game. But then when you saw Saudi Arabia against Poland, I mean, they had chances, but Poland was a real shit too, boy. Poland, after Qatar, Poland was the second worst team to me in the competition. And so they played against Poland, and they had some chances, but Poland, which was a shit side, beat them 2-0. And I didn't get to see the Mexico game, but they lost that game too. So,
but I just wonder sometimes that those teams, if they just focus so much on the big team that they had to play, that they'll kind of learn that big team we are playing to try to counteract it.
Well, it didn't look like they did that because the first half they didn't come prepared.
They probably went after the coach talked to them and they say, well, all right. Oh God, and they say, all right, let me pick up and do what we're supposed to do here.
No, well, I don't. If that was the intention, they'd press high from the start, but they didn't press high from the start. They only pressed high after they came out the second half, after they get loud up, and after they were down and needed a goal essentially to at least equalize. They needed a goal, so they pressed high after that. And I think what happened when they played Poland, they pressed Poland high up the field, but Poland weren't trying to pass out the back, unlike Argentina. Argentina wanted to. They thought they had all the time in the world to pass and, build their pattern of play. But Poland wasn't on that. They pressed Poland, and Szczesny would just kick the ball forward. He just kick it forward. And I think that threw off Saudi Arabia because all they wanted to do was press high up the field.
Kind of repeat what worked for them.
Right, in the second half against Argentina. But I don't remember who surprised me the most. Japan. Japan. This was one of the years that Japan was coming in where I thought, nah, this I ain't looking for them this year. Normally, I look out for them, but I watched a few games in the Asian qualifiers, and they were struggling against some small sides. So I just thought, nah, I don't think Japan had it this year, and they come and beat Germany and Spain.
I was rooting for them today, but It didn't work out. He went on to penalties and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But
They played the game too slowly, but they played the game too slowly. They had to rush Croatia, and I think it's because they scored first. Because that's the issue. In all the games they won in Germany, against Germany, they came back from 1-0.
Right.
Against Spain, they came back from 1-0. And I think playing from waiting and picking the spots, lulling the team into submission, letting the team feel everything. Because the same thing happened to Germany and Spain. They thought the game was done.
Right, yeah.
They thought the game was done, and then Japan like, whoop, no. And they turned up the heat on them, and both times they won. But because they took the lead against Croatia, I think they didn't know how to play with the lead.
Right.
You know what I mean? They didn't know how to play without another team trying to dominate the ball in the way that they're accustomed. So I think that is why they lost. But they surprised me, though. I didn't expect them.
It was the header that equalized in the Croatia game.
Yeah.
That header looked good, you know.
Yeah.
They played that ball nice. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, boy, dog, boy.
Yeah.
So that looked good. That looked good today. Even the South Korea Brazil game, right?
Yeah.
South Korea, they started to catch a leg in the second half, you know.
Well, to be fair, Brazil took their foot way off the gas in the second half. Way off the gas.
Right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, but even though Brazil took their foot off the gas, because I remember it had points at that game, plenty points at that game in the second half, where Brazil had 7 men and 8 men in the next half. I was like, whoa, they're pushing real hard and only done 4 ahead.
Yeah.
This is wild.
Well, yeah, but they weren't, the intensity wasn't there. They were progressing with the ball, but they weren't passing the ball as quickly as they were in the first half, and they weren't. Only Rafinha was the only man he wanted badly to score, so he was real running up and down the place. But Neymar, every time Neymar get the ball, he's slowing it down. He telling them players, hey, cool it, and he go knock it wrong. What I was impressed by South Korea with is that they decided they were going to go out, quote unquote, like men.
Yeah.
Brazil look as good as they look today because they gave Brazil time and space. Because they come to play football. They didn't come and say, hey, we go down, tighten, keep the spaces tight, and just lost anyway. Because they would have come and tried to, defend with a low block and try to defend on the counter, and they would have just defended wave after wave after wave of Brazil attack. And by minute 60, Brazil would have scored, and then it'd be like, all you would have done was given your fans hope, you know what I mean, for no reason. So they said, nah, fuck that, we coming to play. And even when after Brazil went 2-0 up, them fellas didn't lose any kind of heart up. Them fellas just kept playing with the same intensity, trying to score in the same pattern. So that was what was impressive to me. Some people might say, well, no, you never know if they defend. They could get lucky and they could go to penalties. And, okay, cool. But let's be real. Brazil's going to score.
And I think no matter how you feel about Brazil, this squad that they have, there's a difficult squad to defend.
This is that's the best squad in the competition by far.
Yeah.
By far. I don't even want to hear about France. Talent for talent, bro, Brazil is the best team in the World Cup by far. And when they have to, they play like a team as well. Brazil should win this World Cup. I don't want them to win, but Brazil should win this World Cup. If things go on the way it's supposed to, on form and what's supposed to happen, they're supposed to win this World Cup for sure.
Well, I think I see a lot of people back in France and all of it. I see we have the Messi fans who back in Argentina.
I'm not a Messi fan, bro. I'm an Argentina fan. Right? As a matter of fact, I'm an Argentina fan because of Maradona, not because of...
Well, this is I like that. I tell my wife that most of the people I know like Argentina is just only because of Messi or Maradona.
Well, yeah, Maradona. Yeah. So, well, I mean, you must find a reason to like a country. You're not from there, no?
No, so, I say, whereas you can like Brazil for way more players now, boy.
Well,
that's 2 players with all his points on that.
Yeah, but those are 2 players that are
great.
Yeah. Because I mean, Argentina's had big stars apart from them for years. You know what I mean? This is probably one of the worst sides they've ever had in terms of a lack of recognizable names. But in 2010, Argentina went to a World Cup with 5 of the best strikers in the world, bro. Kun Aguero, well, Messi's not a striker, but forwards, right? Aguero, Higuain, Messi, Carlos Tevez, and who was the next one, boy? Oh, gosh. I can't remember now. But just them 4 alone, right? Were monsters at the time, but they probably didn't have any talent in the rest of the team. They didn't have any talent in the rest of the team. But Argentina's had some big players over the years. But Maradona and Messi gods, essentially gods of football.
So let me ask you this though, England, based on England's performance yesterday, you think
they could beat France?
Do you think they're pulling together, and you think they could be doing better?
Well, I think they'll beat France.
Serious, right?
Yeah, I think
people will be real upset that you see that, boy.
I'm trying to upset people.
A lot of people trying to ride Mbappe,
Pause. But
well, I was gonna say ride dick, but a lot of people like Mbappe. Also, I have seen so many messages in groups, the Mbappe and so far he what they say he equal whoever in scoring in the World Cup, and so a lot of people believe
Henry, he equal Henry, and he scored 8 goals in 2 World Cups, whereas Ronaldo and Messi, well, he equal Ronaldo. Ronaldo has 8 goals in 4 World Cups. Messi has 9 goals in 4 World Cups. He has 8 goals in 2 World Cups. So far. Now, a lot of that has to do, obviously, with France. He's playing with a team. Neither Messi nor Ronaldo has ever had a team like that to play with. Where, listen, Mbappe, especially yesterday, against Poland, he gets to stand by the half line and just wait for man to pass the ball to him, and he can just run at players at will. And Mbappe is as fast as Usain Bolt. Well, not as, but you know what I mean? But he's basically Usain Bolt with the ball. So he loves that. And you give him the opportunity, because France hasn't had to play against a team where they had to worry about their attack. Who have they played? They've played Australia, Denmark, Tunisia, and Poland. Really. You know what I mean? And they lost to Tunisia. Without Mbappe on the field, they really wasn't creating much. He came on in the second half and still didn't do anything, right? He made and that's the other thing. That's the other thing that it is really frustrating to have conversation with football casuals, because people, I'm not trying to say I ever play at no big high level, but I know the game, and I actually watch football, not watch highlights and watch half the game. Mbappe, yesterday against Poland, was actually awful. He was awful. He made a lot of mistakes yesterday. But they dominated Poland, and he kept getting the ball, and he eventually put away his chances. You know what I mean? And his first goal was bad, but he had a whole day. He could have, after he collect the ball, he could have put on a picnic napkin, pull a hot dog, yam it, get back up, trap the ball, and then hit. He had ridiculous space. You know what I mean? No, he has been the most exciting player in the World Cup, because he is the player who, whenever the ball is at his feet, you feel something has to happen, right? Up until the game against Australia, Messi wasn't even really doing that. Messi was scoring, but he wasn't electric. The game against Australia, he kind of turned back the clock. It was 20-year-old Messi again. But he don't have the legs to do what Mbappe doing now. And Ronaldo certainly don't have the legs for that. So he's been exciting. He has been like, every time he get the ball, you feel like, something, because his pace alone, and he hasn't played against teams that have made him defend.
Right, yeah.
They'll have to do that against England. He can't just lie on the half line waiting for the ball, because number one, England have Kyle Walker, who is extremely fast too. So, I mean, he's not going to stop Mbappe whole day one-on-one, but he could play Mbappe in a way that most defenders can't, because he's not afraid that if Mbappe turn on him, he gone. Kyle Walker could catch up, right? So that's one element. And then on the other side of it, he will have to, Bukayo Saka would be causing havoc on that side of the field. So he will now have to come back and help the team defense. So a lot of people may be surprised. They may not see the Mbappe
that they were seeing.
They saw it. Because, and that's the thing, if you've watched PSG play, you've seen many times when they've played against teams and they've nullified Mbappe's speed, right? So it is not that it's impossible to do. It just means that once they come up against a team that has some quality now you're going to have some issues. And I maintain he's actually not been that good. And I've seen him play much better before. Been much more clinical, a lot less wasted touches. But because they've played against nobody, and they've been dominating the games all the time, then he's been able to take advantage. But I think England's going to beat them. I think England's going to get to the finals.
Serious.
And my hope is that it'll be an England-Argentina final. I it'll more likely be a England-Brazil final, but...
And I'm being honest with you, I think if England-Argentina reach the final, I think England will win.
Now, I was telling somebody the other day, if Argentina reach the final, they're not losing. They're not losing. They have... Them fellas have some kind of juju going. How's them playing? Yeah, shit, them playing. Yeah, shit.
But you see, as I say, if they reach the finals, it's because England would have corrected better or kind of get on track to what they need. Because the thing is, they have real good players, right? I think it's the team right now with the most popular players on it, right?
Well, I mean,
when I say, I'm not talking about like the most popularity, I'm talking about with plenty popular players.
Now, France has a lot. Oh, there's nobody on France's. No, I'm going to say there's nobody on France's team that's not a headline name, but Griezmann, Giroud, Mbappe, Tchouaméni, Varane, the keeper, Hugo Lloris, who's a much more high profile player than Jordan Pickford, who's England's keeper. Apart from Harry Kane and Phil Foden, who are the real popular players on England? Harry Maguire, popular for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, but Raheem Sterling, yeah.
Well, he gone home.
See, how's he going to get injured? Or?
No, his family, they're breaking the house in London, where they're breaking the family house. Fellas breaking the house. No, he might come back for the game on Saturday, but it happened before the game, the Senegal game, and he's like, nah, he's not going to. He fly home to deal with that.
Yeah, they'll pick up everybody and come back.
And Raheem Sterling early in form, but I know you mean you just mean high profile. Okay, Raheem Sterling is fairly high profile. Yes.
Right.
All right.
Then Saka.
But he's not more famous than Griezmann or Giroud or Mbappe or
Well, no, that was saying, but I'm not talking about in how big their name is. I was just talking about the amount of players that they have.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is I'm calling out names of players on France that are very close to being general household names. Tchouaméni being the exception. He'll be a household name to football fans, right? But other than Harry Kane, I can't think of a English player. Bukayo Saka, I know him because he's Rashford. Rashford
too.
Rashford is a name.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think Phil Foden is a name. He's a good player.
But do you think he had to be
But he's not more high profile than plenty people on the French team.
But let's just say, I'm not talking about more popular. I'm talking about they have a name in their own right. You understand what I'm saying? In even if you understand club football.
Right, but those French players all, as I say, Varane, Hugo Lloris, Laporte, Tchouaméni, Griezmann.
I know Griezmann. I know Mbappe.
You know, you would know Giroud.
Right, I know Giroud.
You may not know Tchouaméni. Kante not there, Pogba not there because of they injured, but they would have been much bigger players as well. You would know Varane.
Right.
You would know Lloris, Hugo Lloris, the keeper.
Nah, I don't know. I don't know Lloris.
Well, okay.
And I mean, to be fair, I think I am more Premier League.
Right, because you had to watch that.
Yeah.
So you they would be more famous, but a lot of those, because a lot of the French players are big players in whatever club they're playing at.
Right.
Big players. Declan Rice.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's a big player. He's still playing for West Ham. You know what I mean? French
but no,
players.
but just they think one to them though. Manu isn't interested
but in terms of his profile we're talking about, his profile is still Jordan Pickford is a good keeper, but he's not known like Hugo Lloris, you know what I mean? Or like any other Thibaut Courtois or David De Gea if he went for Spain. He's not known like those guys. So if you're talking about just known, because I think the French players are big names on big teams.
Right.
But the English players are names on Premier League teams. So if you just watch Premier League, then that's what you would know. You know what I mean? But I think England does have a lot of talent. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying no. And I don't like how France has been playing. I don't think they've been that great. I think they've been lucky that they've played against teams that were poor. So they got to run, they got to steamroll that team. They got to steamroll because once they got going, moving the ball, those teams would be, Dembele. Yeah, forget. Dembele is on France as well, and he's Dembele, right? Everywhere. He's a big name on a big squad like Barcelona. Tchouaméni is a big player on Real Madrid. Mbappe, PSG.
Yeah.
You understand? So these are big names on big clubs. Declan Rice is not so much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So France does have a lot of talent, but I think when they come up against England, they'll come up against a team that could match them in terms of talent, in terms of athleticism and belief. Because Jude Bellingham that youth, man, is bad, dog. He is bad. And I think Gareth Southgate not using him properly. But when he get in flow, dog, it could be real problematic. So, and I don't think France's midfield is as strong as it could be. And that is where I think England will overrun them.
Yeah.
So
when they play, what it is?
Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon.
Thank God I don't work Saturday. I don't think I don't work yet.
Obviously, I hope Argentina beats Holland. Who knows if that will happen? But the hope is that will take place. Who else we know? Brazil will be playing Croatia. Well, yeah, that Brazil. Tomorrow is Portugal.
Yeah, Portugal.
Portugal and who Portugal playing? Portugal playing. Morocco playing Spain.
Right, so if you like Spain there.
Nobody.
Well, I have people say Morocco playing good.
I don't think it's a foregone conclusion at all. Spain, I'll pick Spain, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion.
Portugal playing Switzerland.
I think I'll take Switzerland now.
Serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying.
I think.
And somehow, like, even though Ronaldo playing, I'm not getting that vibe that he meshing well in front at all.
No, I think they're not meshing because he playing.
Yeah.
Because he did on his own mission to get goals and to run up his stats and to, build his profile to get a next club or whatever. He really irritating me, dog. And I've never been a Ronaldo fan, and I'm not a big Portugal fan either, but I like Bernardo Silva, João Cancelo is another player I really like. I really respect his game. And it really frustrated me to see them struggling in the way that they're struggling because they're trying to feed this clown. Because he is, trying to be their focal point. And I don't think he's good enough to be the focal point in a good side anymore.
Gabriel Jesus playing with them too.
No, he's Brazilian.
Yeah. Jesus, right.
Yeah, but he got injured. He played in the first game and the second game, I think, for Brazil, and he got injured. Okay. He out for 3 months, so that is real pain fast now. He's not coming back until February or something, so late February. But yeah,
is Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah, he's the other one. I don't rate him so much, but I like Bernardo Silva, and I rate João Cancelo. I like João Felix as well. So them fellas I want to see do well, and they just keep.
Felix seems to be playing a good game too, but for some unknown reason, as I say, they seem to be focusing more on
well, I don't know if they're focusing more on him because he demanded it, or the team is being instructed to focus on a number 9 player, and he's a number 9 type striker, right? He's playing a number 9 role. So I don't know if that is the way that Mendes, what's the coach? I can't remember the coach name, but I know if that is the way he wants to set up the team to play, and maybe if they could play with another striker instead of him, Leao, when he comes on, I think he might be. I didn't see their third game. I didn't see the game they lost to South Korea, but I saw the second game against Uruguay. And when Ronaldo came off and Leao came on, it looked a lot better now. You know what I mean? So maybe yes, you could use a number 9, but a better one than him, or one who's more mobile now, boy, because he not mobile anymore. So let me stop this shit. But they keep playing for him, and I think it's gonna lead to their downfall. They should be Switzerland. They have much more talent than Switzerland has, but just the way they've been playing, I have a feeling they might get a surprise.
But this is the first time we met since we spoke about the Piers Morgan interview. But back then we spoke about the clips. And the whole interview came out. You taking the whole interview?
No.
I mean, wait a minute. I find it's pain to listen to.
Yeah. It's pain to listen. He does nothing but talk about himself. And I mean, yes, he's being interviewed, but you can interview somebody and he'll talk about other things. Ronaldo, I've never seen an interview where Ronaldo is willing to talk about anything by himself.
But the way it seemed in the interview is like he and Piers Morgan was operating like they didn't think he would get sacked after the interview.
No, I think he did. I think that all that was a ploy.
No, don't get me wrong. With to see him launch the watch the day that the watch where he scored against Manchester, the day when they come and they say they mutually agree to separate. I was like, all right, okay, clearly he had a plan, but they played off it because the day when they make the announcement, Piers Morgan come out and say Manchester making a big mistake. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, listen, Piers Morgan is acting like Ronaldo's PR, right? Because Piers Morgan is one of those leechy kind of journalists who likes to establish relationships with famous people. And so he has always been a Ronaldo lackey. Now, I don't know if it's because he really has genuine admiration for Ronaldo and he's just exaggerated because he's trying to maintain that relationship for whatever benefit it will come with. Or he's just a leech and, he had an opportunity to form a relationship with Ronaldo and he capitalized on it. But you can't take him seriously. He starts the interview by saying, well, Ronaldo, you're the greatest player in the world. So he's basically, and that's the only reason Ronaldo would chose to sit with him. Because that's what he's there to do. So, and because the Sun newspaper that Piers Morgan writes for as well, that is like Ronaldo's paper. You know what I mean? They obviously don't need to cover sports, but whenever they cover sports and football, anything Ronaldo related, what the Sun, when he scored that penalty, it's like, yeah, you see, he always does it at the World Cup. Messi scored a penalty the day before. You know what I mean? People score penalties all the time.
Yeah. I mean, the chance of people scoring penalties is much higher than not, right?
And he didn't play well in the game. Other than the penalty, he wasn't doing much, right? And then there was a game where he tried to claim the goal.
Yeah.
That real ridiculous.
That was wild, eh?
That real ridiculous, boy. That real awful. What kind of player? Listen, anyway, but that's the brother. The brother is a weirdo and he clearly is way too into himself. But that whole thing with Piers Morgan and the two of them are coordinating the PR.
The thing is, Piers Morgan is saying, this is an opportunity for Arsenal to reach out to him.
Brother, and Piers Morgan knows better than anybody. Arsenal, no team that is looking to win a league, a big league, is looking at Ronaldo. Period.
And I mean, Arsenal is doing pretty well now without him.
That's my point, right? That's my point. They do not need, and well, now that Gabriel Jesus is injured, we will see how well Martinelli, because Martinelli is his backup, well, not his backup, but Martinelli is a backup striker for Brazil, but he's also a backup striker for Arsenal, right? So just like how Jesus' absence or Richarlison's absence could mean Martinelli playing for Brazil. Now Jesus' absence for Arsenal could mean Martinelli playing more often. So that we'll see how good he is. But no big team, no Arsenal, none picking up Ronaldo. That's crazy. You looking to upset the whole, the way he's behaved. Only a team that's desperate to create a profile and whatever. So that will benefit them. But nobody.
And then the thing is that team who looking to create a profile right now don't have the money to pay him, unless he's willing to take a dread pay cut.
Well, I mean, his contract is done, so he has no pay cut, right? He has no pay.
Well, right?
He has no pay. So whoever's taking him up now doesn't have to worry about
value cut if you're on the pay like that.
Yes. No, and I don't think he would. He is not that he desperate for money. He might just feel like playing for small money will be an offense to his ego. You know what I mean? But I don't think he care about the actual salary he will be getting.
But the man said that in the interview, dog. The man said that was the most important thing for him now,
What's that?
The money, he said, because now it's a business. It's just a business.
Oh, that we said?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe that either, because you would have taken friggin' money and go and play is in Saudi Arabia.
Well, I don't think that offer is real though. Nobody who could afford to pay a football player was 200 million for 1 year.
No, it's not 1 year. The last thing I see was 3 years.
But the 200 million was supposed to be 200 million a year. That's what I heard. It was 175 and comp bonuses. I feel like bullshit. I feel like just thing for headlines that people pour there. And I don't think even Ronaldo would turn down 200 million a year. If that's real, I don't think 200 million a year. He would turn that down, really. 200 million. Come on, dog. But if it's the difference between playing for his old club Sporting and playing for some jackass side in Saudi Arabia or Qatar or some shit, if it's like $10 million difference, nah, forget that. You go and play for Sporting. But if it's 100 million, I don't know. But I don't believe that offers for real. Because it's that kind of thing that people are just pouting the papers, you know. Remember how the whole when Beckham had gone to the LA Galaxy and it was for something stupid like 50 million a year or something. It's like $500,000 every game, whatever it was. It was coming at $500,000 a game. And then, so that was the sensational thing, you know, and everybody's like, oh, that's obscene amounts of money, and And then when it did the breakdowns, like half of that wasn't real. It was, you know, if he does this and he get this bonus, so the maximum contract could have been that, but, you know, and it had to have certain amount of ticket sales, and I'll see, you know what I mean? And so, a lot of the add-ons and bonuses just get put into that. So I don't believe that offer from Saudi Arabia is a legit thing, and it's really 200 million over the course of them. Per year for 3 years.
Well, I mean, we will see. That's one of the things I waited. Honestly, I waited for the World Cup to finish just to see what's going to happen with him. Every time I turn on the TV, it's like, oh, Ronaldo grabs the headlines again. I don't know anybody who really cares what happens to that man now. Like, well, listen. To me, he seems like a bigger story outside of football. Like outside of football fans? No, don't get me wrong. Understand what I'm saying? I'm not like Ronaldo fan waiting to see what happened. You know, what's the best thing that will happen? Babe. I want to see this ego dog. How is gonna deal with whatever is gonna come after the World Cup. Okay. That's what I'm talking about because this ego and all this thing and all this rant and rave in this interview and right? You talk up yourself and whatever, and they put on the team, you put on Manchester, you leave and you come back, they didn't do no work, they didn't spend no money on technology and whatever, right? All this thing and you beat up yourself and you think you should get more respect and you should, all right. You have a certain value of yourself. P.S. Morgan chain you up too. He have a certain value that he put to you. Let me see what our value is after the World Cup.
Well, I think that the problem is going to be my thing. I think he's going home tomorrow, and he probably would go home without having had a good World Cup, without making a major mark. The biggest headline was about you pretending you hit the ball, right? I don't think that's going to help his cause at all. You know, in trying to make the case that he is still this big star and that it's Manchester that didn't recognize that he's a big star. Because you've gone to the World Cup with a very talented Portugal squad, bro. A better squad than Messi has gone to Argentina, gone to the World Cup with Argentina. Let's be real. Right? A much better squad. And you haven't said anything. And the conversation is always Messi and Ronaldo. Yeah. So the comparison would be, all right, when Messi told his side. Your side seems to be toting you. You understand what I'm saying? You want Messi is dragging Argentina ahead with him. You are dragging your team down. You know what I mean? So, before we close off on the football and probably close off the podcast, I just want to get this off my chest. Right? You just you had anything else?
No. It's true.
I am having an issue with African teams at the World Cup. A real big issue. And when I say African teams, I don't mean Morocco and Tunisia and Egypt and Algeria are there, but we don't mean them Africans, right? We're talking about Africans, right? don't mean to be joking, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. Yes, they are on the continent of Africa, and they're right. But I just when we talk about African teams, we mean Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, Ivory Coast, them kind of teams, right? Every 4 years when the World Cup comes around, people like to do this. Well, I back in the African team. I want to see African team do good. Ting.
Yeah, I honestly I heard that. Yeah.
Of course, you must have. You hear that every World Cup. Every World Cup. Every team, everybody will have a team and a second team, and the second team is African country. You know what I mean? Ghana or Senegal or Nigeria or whatever, right? I just want to see African team do good. Cool. I have no issue with that. Would love to see African team do well. But I find we just treat these African teams as if they are charity cases, or like, not charity cases, almost as if, they should just be happy that they're there. You know what I mean? As if, first of all, 5 African teams had to come. Right? So it's not an achievement to get to the World Cup. One of them had to get there. At least one of the big nations, the Ghana, the Senegal, the whatever, right? Had to get it. So it's not an achievement for Senegal to make it to the World Cup. Let's be honest, right? But we still treat these teams and kind of excuse their failures, tournament after tournament without ever asking why these teams are getting better, bro.
Well, first of all, let me ask the question, because I might be a bit ignorant, but why 5 teams instead of come?
Well, that's what's come out to the African qualification group.
Right.
I think it's 5.5 places they have.
Okay.
So at least 5 would be half, meaning that one team doesn't end up going into a playoff like what we went into with Bahrain.
Right.
Right? So just like in CONCACAF, we have 3.5 or 4.5.
I think it's 3.5, but they say in some World Cup coming up, it could be 4.5.
It will be 4.5, because the next World Cup will have 40 teams.
Right. And then, right.
The next World Cup will have 40 teams, not 32. Right? But it's 3.5 spots now. Well, right. Africa it's 4.5 or 5.5. I think it's 5.5. Right? But anyway, the point is, what I mean is, those teams have to come out from Africa, because some of the teams has to.
No, well, the thing is, I don't think the average person knows that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No. What do you mean the average person?
No, the average person, I tell you just figure people doesn't know all them things, Now, I know that because probably because I'm working in somewhere that's with sports, not World Cup, but sports, and I hear them talking Dana, boy. But the average
you mean the number of teams? They might know the number of teams.
You don't know the number of teams that have spots, so that.
Okay, right. Okay, most people know that, but they would know that an African team has to be there.
Well, right, but they don't know the number. So I think people, the average person will think, well, the reason they did is because they're good.
Well, they are good, they do have talented players. But what I'm saying is, it should not, in and of itself, it is not like if Senegal had to compete in a World Cup tournament to get to the World Cup.
To get it right.
Right, they competed in a qualification process just like we competed in one, and they got to it, right? So we have to stop acting like if Ghana reaching to the World Cup is in and of itself an achievement. These are the biggest footballing countries on the continent of Africa. They should be there.
Right.
You understand where I'm coming from? It's not like Trinidad and Tobago making it to the World Cup. Or Scotland or Wales in this instance. Or, they are the biggest footballing nations on the continent. And teams must represent the continent, right? So they should be there. But these teams are not getting any better. And nobody is asking why. They keep treating them like newcomers every time. They'll go. So like Senegal went home yesterday, right? And say, oh, well, boy, they try. No! Why listen, African teams, there are many African teams that have more recognized talent than many European teams. Lower level European teams. Austria, Sweden, they're African teams that have more talent than them. Way more. Right? And I don't just say, I think they're talented. No, they're because they're playing in major leagues in Europe. Right? They're not playing amateur football in the Senegalese second division. You understand what I'm saying? We have had Ivory Coast went to the World Cup with a bomb squad. That was 2010 or 2014. Can't remember. But whichever year it was, when Drogba, Yaya Toure, his brother Kolo Toure, Eboué, the fella with the funny hair with the plaits, what was his name again? Javinci. Javinci was his name? I'll remember his name just now. But that was you hear them names I know called? Drogba was poison, dog.
Yeah.
Poison. Proper poison. One of the best strikers in the world at the time. Yaya Toure was one of the best midfielders in the world at that time. Right? His brother was one of the best defenders. Eboué was a good left back. You know what I mean? And they were all playing. They were playing for top-notch Premier League teams at the time. Yaya Toure, Man City. He was playing for Man City, not Barca at the time. So he was at City, Chelsea, and the Kolo and Eboué was playing for Arsenal. So they had a lot of talent. I don't think they got the round of 16, right? And you hear the names I don't call.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, Sadio Mane didn't make it to the World Cup this year because he didn't play in the World Cup because of the injury. But Senegal has some bad players, bro. Now, okay, they went out to England, who could probably win the tournament. So that in and of itself is not a problem. But Senegal, until their backs were against the wall in the group, they played shit. They played shit. You know, you ever watch? No, you wouldn't watch it. But watch an African Cup of Nations tournament, bro. You would much rather rip off your toenails one by one. The games have zero quality to them. They score. Senegal came out of the group in the last African Cup of Nations scoring 1 goal. 1 goal, and that was a penalty by Sadio Mane. Right? 0-0, 0-0, 1-0. And they didn't score a bunch of goals in the rest of the tournament. Almost every one of their games from the quarterfinal stage went down to penalties. It was 1-0, 1-0, and then the final against Egypt, I think it was 0-0, and then went to penalty. So, dog, and that's all because the games have very little quality. If you see a passenger play where 6 or 7 progressive passes are strung together, you see plenty, bro. You see real plenty. But why? Because the players are good. So why are they not improving? And this, I was having this conversation with my sister and my wife the other day, right? Because I did this on my chest, it's getting me mad, Because like, dog, I fed up see these teams come and shit on this. I want to see African nation properly fly the flag in the tournament. And I was saying to myself, you know what I started to wonder, like, them federations, somebody asleep at the wheel, because they have so many African players or players of African heritage playing for shit sides in Europe. Why? Now, I could understand it being difficult to get Pogba to come and play for wherever his family from, I think Mali or wherever, right? Because he could play for France, bro.
Yeah.
He could win a World Cup playing for France. You know what I mean? So a man from Germany, a man from Spain, Italy to some extent, England to some extent now.
But you don't think, because, you know, a lot of those African countries have a lot of corruption, or they claim that a lot of corruption surrounding the countries themselves.
Yes.
So you don't think there's a possibility they have a significant amount of corruption involved in the football federation?
Well, yeah. But I also think there's a lot of laziness. Like, because, but the point that's coming to was, why I'm seeing so many players playing for shit side like Denmark and Austria and Switzerland.
Because there's the point that I was going to make, like, watching the interview with this boy who's played for Aston Villa.
Leon Bailey.
And he was saying that, remember, well, I don't know if you remember, but I remember that talk at a point in time where them other countries wanted to pull him in for him to play for those countries, right? And then a big uproar in Jamaica because they say he turned his back on Jamaica, whatever. But his thing was, at the end of the day, he was getting dog treatment from the Jamaica.
No, right.
Federation.
But that is a different thing, because that is his association with Butler and all that back and all, right? But he born and grew in Jamaica, so he could get fight in Jamaica. I'm talking about players.
No, right. So I said, if it have that same kind of thing going on in those countries.
Nobody wouldn't have that, because what I mean is, okay, take Switzerland, for example. Akanji and Noah Okafor can both play for Nigeria. Both of them have Nigerian parents. Mbolo, the man who scored the goal against Cameroon, playing for Switzerland, is Cameroonian born, bro. So he scored the winner in the team in the game against his home country. The country he's born in, not just he have heritage with it. He was born in Cameroon, and so that's 3 players, all 3 top quality players. 2 who could be playing for Nigeria, 1 who could be playing for Cameroon, right? None of them are going to fight because they have no ties to those countries. It's not like as the case we've seen with Leon Bailey, I don't want to get into all of that, but there's a whole history of the man who was the agent and the coach used to play with in the youth squad, and they have all that back and all that politics, right? So a player who born and grow you can tell me what a player who born and grew in Ghana he might make it to the national side because them fellas fighting. Yeah. But they no issue. I'm talking about when those talents start to develop, you from the federation go and approach them to start to convince them to play for your team, like how we went and found Chris Birchall and all those kind. You go and almost as if to prove my point, right? I was talking about this, like how I talking to you this talking now. The following day, I pick up my phone, going through, and I see Michael Dapper. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but man's not hot man. Right. He have this video series where he's be interviewing these footballers, right? And he was interviewing Danny Welbeck. And both of them are of Ghanaian heritage, meaning man's not hot. Right. And Danny Welbeck, right? And he bringing up the picture and look your debut picture from when you played for England for the first time. And he's like, you remember that? And he's like, yeah, it was real weird because I made my debut playing against Ghana. So my parents was in the Ghana section and they was booing me. You know what I mean? They were, and so he asked him, so how was it like that making the decision to play for England instead of for your home country? Well, the first thing he said was, well, first of all, it was a natural progression to me because I had been playing in the youth system coming up through the ranks for England. So I'd played on the 14, on the 16, on the 18. So it's just to play for the senior team is just the natural progression, right? But then he said also, nobody from the Ghanaian Federation ever approached him. So he didn't have to make a decision. It never occurred to him that he could play for Ghana. Now, Danny Welbeck, his career didn't pan out the way people thought it would. But or you should know at least, I think you would know his name.
Yeah, I know his name, yeah.
And he was a bright talent at a point in time. At a point in time, he was supposed to be what Rashford is now. Right? The next big thing, striking for England. So it's not like people didn't know him. It's not like a Ghanaian football official could be like, hey, you hear about this? If you on the ball, that's all their scouts supposed to be doing. Going around. This is reparations here, right? Go and let Europe develop their talent and let we pull them and let them play for we. Was Nigeria and Ghana in particular, but Nigeria more than anything else. You hard pressed to go on any major league in Europe and not find a couple pretty talented men who could play for Nigeria, either Nigerian born or
Nigerian heritage.
Nigerian heritage. So what is going on with these federations? Why them fellas not going out there and seeking out the talent? As I say, all right, you can't convince a man to leave France and come and play for you. No problem. Why they playing for sides like Denmark and Austria and Switzerland and Sweden? That shouldn't be happening, bro. Because those teams aren't they don't have a much better chance of winning anything than Ghana or Nigeria or Senegal or Ivory Coast or Cameroon. You know what I mean? So,
but for the people who would know much about this, including myself, what are the requirements for you to play for a particular country? Right? I mean, all right, yes, citizenship or whatever the case may be, but let me just say you are a citizen of England. Or a citizen of one of them countries, like you say, like Switzerland, right? Yes, you're a citizen there. And you mightn't have citizenship, or you could get citizenship through descent or whatever the case may be, right? You have to get the citizenship, and is it that you would have not have to represent Switzerland on any professional level?
At the senior level. So you could you could have played for Switzerland at youth level, but never played for the senior. I'm not 100% sure if it's a certain number of appearances.
Right.
At a point in time, I remember it was just one appearance. Once you make an appearance for the senior team, right? But it's somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like that had changed and they made it maybe a certain number of appearances. But you can't have, let's say it's that you can't have played for the senior team.
Okay.
So you could have played coming up all through the youth ranks, but you can't make that you can't graduate to that senior team level and then be able to play
and then switch around.
Yes, yeah, and then switch to another team. Yeah.
And what about the countries that they seek out these people? Mm-hmm. So the ones who born in these African countries, and then these countries go out and seek them out, right? And like the European countries.
No, they don't. The European countries don't really go and seek them out. They become immigrants in those countries. In most of the time, not even football related. So most of these people, like, Akanji, I think, his father was Nigerian and went and had a baby with a Swiss woman, and he born there. But even others, what do you call him? Why his name escaping him? But players who refugees, right? Alphonso Davies. His family were refugees that made their way to Canada and became Canadian citizens, but he had nothing to do with football. Right. He just happened to become a Canadian citizen otherwise. And then...
So is it that... Because, I mean, you see people in that debate all the time about teams who just use players, that not from the country ever. Mm-hmm. So, and I always thought that those teams just go out there, whether it be from a national level or they're picking them up from small in club level or whatever, they just go in these countries and sought after.
Seek after. I mean, first, well, big nations, European countries, don't have to go out and look for people because remember, immigrants are flocking to their countries. They just benefit from the fact that these immigrants come to their country and then they, if they like football, play football, they develop the talent and then they end up playing for the adopted nations. So like, England ought to go out and seek out players. All of those players, like Bukayo Saka, he could also play for Nigeria, because both his parents Nigerian. So, but they don't have to go and find he in Nigeria to bring you across to play football, because England, they produce players left, right, and center. The people who go and seek out players is teams that don't have the talent. So, America, Trinidad, and what I'm advocating that African nations do more, which is go and find these fellas who have the heritage and convince them, start talking to them from very young. Hey, you could represent the country of your parents.
And you'll have to be a dual citizen in that situation.
Well, yeah, they would organize your paperwork, dog. The Nigerian authorities will just give you a passport. They'll tell you the procedure, how you apply for your passport. You get your passport and you come on. Once you haven't represented the senior team once you haven't represented at senior level, you come on and play. You're just like Chris Birchall. When America played Holland, bro, the man who played the best essentially for the US, Serginho Dest, he born and grew in Holland, He has never lived in the US at any point in time in his life. If you hear him talk, he speaks English with a very weird accent because he's never been to, well, since he's never been, but he hasn't lived. He was born in Holland, went through youth football at club level. I think before he went to Ajax, I think it was Feyenoord he was at. So he's played youth football. He grew up in Holland, dog. Grew up. They also, when they played against England, the other man, Anthony Robinson, he born and grew in England. You understand? If you hear him talk,
British.
He's a British guy. You know what I mean? He's playing for England. So America is going out and finding them, right? Players who can represent their country because of the heritage, because they could obtain citizenship through through heritage. They could do that. Their federation not playing. They go in and find, and I'm sure if I heard, that's just the ones I know. I'm sure like Musa, he's a player for America. I don't know him, so I'm sure if I Google him.
I think this is about America, about 6 players, I think, who weren't born there.
Right. So, you understand? Timothy Weah, strangely, he actually born and grew in the States, right? You would have thought that, being who his father was, he would have been...
Yeah, well, I know the story, yeah.
Yeah, but he actually lived in America. He didn't just happen to be born there and get a passport. He grew up in America. Played football at clubs before he moved to France. But up until about 14, he was playing football in America. So that's essentially a homegrown player. But that's what I'm saying. Those federations are doing that. Why aren't Africa? Because I'm telling you, dog, if those African federations did a better job of recruiting the talent that could play and represent those nations, first of all, they'll be taking a step a step forward. But something is still going wrong with the coaching and the development of football at the national level. Because the other issue I think that is holding them back is that I think there isn't any proper infrastructure at the developmental stages. So
like here.
Just like here, right? So the under 14, under 16, under 18, something is going wrong there, so that when the players are coming in to play, because people always talk about, when they're trying to excuse the shit Trinidad's playing now. Well, when they bring in players from here and from there, and they have one player playing in a league in Lebanon, where they just play a certain brand of football, and they bring in the next man from MLS, where they just play a different brand of football, and they try to get them to play together. It's a problem. Who are more players all over the world than Brazil? Brazil have man playing in rough and tumble league, and the most technical league in the world, the fast-paced league, slow-paced league. They are Brazil all over the place. And just come together and play samba football. Why? Because that has been in their DNA, and that has been developed over the years. So when they were coming through the ranks, when they played for under 14 and under 16, and there was a brand of football that was established. I think that's missing in Africa. So what happens is wherever the youth sides come up, they have wherever training in place, and then they reach the senior team level, and they just bring in all of these players who playing in foreign, and they bring like what we do, they bring a coach, a tournament coach, right? They bring a coach who just, you coaching for this tournament. You try to, you know what I mean? And he have no blueprint to work with. He don't know, like, all right, well, this is how the players have been playing for this is how we bring them up. We bring them up playing this brand of ball.
Yeah, we don't have a particular style of football.
Nothing.
To fall into.
Right. So what tournament coaches do is try to do his best to come up with, like, these kind of fundamentalist basic tactics. And then you see the shit you see where the football look disjointed, and you can't see patterns of play, and they're just depending on players' speed and athleticism.
So let me ask you this before we close off. You think we should start getting some Venezuelans on the team? Or?
Venezuela any better than us?
We don't know. When last we played Venezuela in football, I think they might have beat us.
Well, okay, yes. Maybe Venezuela might be better than us slightly because they have like a gazillion more people than us, so they could have a bigger talent pool. But Venezuela had their own structure. It's not like we pulling in Brazilians to play.
But I mean, we can't pull Brazilians, so we have to pull from who trying to be here.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but whoever. Listen, if you have citizenship and you can play, I have no problem with that. But I don't. You ask me if we should be seeking them.
No, but I'm saying
if there's a real big pool of best players.
If we want to offer them citizenship, because I do know people from much other countries that want to come here for citizenship or take citizenship here to play.
No, but okay, what you're saying is there are lots of Venezuelan immigrants here, right? Now, if those Venezuelan immigrants are good and they're playing football while they're here, then okay, fine.
We should offer them citizenship and see if they can make a difference.
Well, I mean, to be fair, if they remain here long enough, they're entitled to citizenship. you understand where I'm from? So, wherever the situation is, then fine. And if the TTFA is, if they're doing the recruitment and they are looking at the camps and they see they have some talent in those and they want to expedite, maybe they could say, all right, we feel them youths have something. Let's see how quickly, or if we could make some do the necessary to expedite their immigration, then okay, fine. I don't have a problem with that.
No, the thing is, why I ask, because some people might say, nah, some people say, nah, we've been through that ball, blah, blah, blah.
But we have players who's played for us who don't even have no idea what
so
channel is.
You didn't hear people kick up against Burchell?
Burchell,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I didn't hear a big uproar. I listen. I know this will make up of all kind of people. So I know at some point some jackass might have something to say, but I didn't see a big uproar against Chris Burchell. I'm sure they didn't have an uproar when he scored the goal in the first Bahrain game, right? When he scored that bullet in the first Bahrain game. So,
but before he scored that, people was real good, dog. People only love him after that. But
but who's people? Nobody I know.
I know. Well, he never grew up here. He grew up in the States or wherever. He's in England.
English.
Yeah.
British,
he grew up in England and he couldn't make it. He couldn't make the England side, so that's why he come in here to play. And
okay, and that's common sense because if he could make the England side, he'd much rather play for England.
Yeah, but that is. I hear real people talking now.
Who's them real people? I don't listen. I don't profess to know everybody. But
And that's true. I I wasn't sure whether it was England or the States he was from, but I remember hearing people complaining about him playing here. They find he shouldn't have. Yeah, spot he couldn't play for the team from the country he from. So that's why he come here to play.
Okay, listen. We live in a world where people just quarrel because where she do the other day because Lala wear a costume to Halloween, right? So if you're asking me, am I surprised that some people said that? No, because this is the world we live in. But I don't know that was a big kerfuffle. I never heard, that it was a issue. And I remember the first time he appeared on, what do you call it? What morning show he was on? And that's when they used to have morning shows, and everybody was like, "Oh, so happy to see you touch the heritage and help us win." And I can't remember there being a big kerfuffle about it. Maybe if social media was out then, you might have
seen more of it.
It might have been more of that. But I guess I suppose some idiot would have had something to say. But I mean, I could kind of understand. It is strange for somebody who have zero connection to the country. Well, not zero connection, but no connection to the culture, really. They didn't grow here in any way, shape, or form. Represent your country, because then you're kind of saying, what is it to be Trinidadian? Then if he could represent Trinidad and he never lived here any life, you know what I mean? What does it mean? Okay, he was one, but let's say we had 9 players like him. Is that still a Trinidadian team? So okay, maybe if we have 9 of them, then it could kind of feel like that's not Trinidadian team anymore, you know what I mean? So I could kind of understand that. But
and then AC, the thing is, I guess some people, you could feel like your player might be getting left off.
No,
or a player and familiar with because you understand what I'm saying? Getting left off because of this person you don't know nothing about. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Well, yes, and I mean that could be an issue. But with respect to once the players, like if they live in here, like in the way he's asking with the Venezuelan, that one I have zero problem with. If you are an immigrant to this country and you've been living here and then you recognize your talent and then you got citizenship or whatever, then I personally don't even have an issue with if you're not from here, but I'll have even less of an issue if it was 9 of them. Right? But if it's 9 who listen, I never hear about you in my life. You know what I mean? I've been watching football for however long. I never hear about you, and all of a sudden you were in Trinidad and Tobago colours, and it's 9 all there, and all they're playing football and representing the red, white, and black. And if I ask you where Carrippy Chime is, Carrippy what? You know what I mean? Then that will feel funny. That would feel weird. It would feel weird. But if it's people who live in here, they're immigrants here, and they become naturalized citizens.
No, I just still ask because I know if it was something that was supposed to happen, you're going to see some people here real close now, boy.
But I mean, and it'll probably be heightened because people don't like Venezuelans,
right?
So they will
and they don't feel they here to take everything from me. Take we walk, take we girl, take we man, take wherever. Not we man, but them man, right? So now to see them taking these spots on the football team, they be like.
But I don't think we have to worry about that in a big way because in all the venues you see around here, you ever see a Veni football sweat? Never. I never see a Veni football sweat ever. I see Veni's lime. I see Veni limes all over the place. Never pull up no way and see, ball knocking because it's Veni's.
I think I see Venezuelans playing football already.
Not a Veni sweat I talk. I not talking
full
about
Veni sweat.
I talk, because they just do everything else as a group. You know, I'm not talking about they have a couple of Venezuelans here who really like football, so they go and look for a sweat. I'm talking about you go see them liming, you go see a Veni barber shop, all kind of things. You never see a Veni sweat dog. Never pull up no field or no savannah and see a bunch of Venis come together and they're knocking ball. Them not on that. Them not on that. So I don't think you need to worry about that at all.
Them just like you. I'm like lime.
That's all them seem to be on. If it was Brazil instead of Venezuela that had the issue and that is the influx was there, you don't feel they'd have 1,000 because them Brazilians can't go nowhere without the football, dog. That's the first thing they'd be looking for, a field where they could sweat. But you don't see that with no Venice, dog. Just like you don't see Chinese doing it either. Or the amount of Chinese, you ever pull up and see a Chinese sweat?
Nah.
No, exactly. Could you not done that?
It might be June weirdness. Hey, but we could probably pull 1 or 2 Jamaicans. Why? Nah, Jamaicans too proud. Them not leaving Jamaican to come and play for no shit.
No, but if they live in here, bro, if you want citizenship, you had to play. I mean, True. I mean, because they still have the choice.
Yeah, and they're way too proud. I think a Jamaican footballer, right, who might not make Jamaica's side, but he get a chance to play for Trini because he here or he get married to Trini. I still feel he will play, boy.
Nah, he would. Well, okay, I shouldn't say he would because we don't know. There's a fictitious person, but
I think he kind of cost you get from Jamaicans, dog.
Well, I mean, if he can't make the Jamaican side, they wouldn't care. They wouldn't care. It's not gonna be like. It's not like Leon Bailey deciding to play for Trinidad. You know, I mean, he get married to Trinidad, you know, however he get to be naturalized. And he decided to play because he's a high profile player, so they would feel like they're losing something. But if it's some Jamaican they never heard about, like he came here as a youth and started to play football and thing. If it's a Jamaican they never hear about, I don't think they would care. No, if he grows to be a humongous star.
And two of you have to face off, dog.
Yeah,
Jamaicans will be a very bad dog.
And I listen. We were talking about Mbolo, the guy who scored for Switzerland against Cameroon. You know they went and tried to burn down the man's house, man's father's house. Yeah, because the man's father still lives in Cameroon, right? The fans stormed the man's place. Dog. Well, the report is that they intended to burn it down, but they broke into the place. That's at least an established fact. They broke into a swarm of fans broke into the man's parents' place, bro. But apparently the father wasn't there. But they broke into the man's place and the intention was to burn it down.
Obviously, man father in Qatar, well expect.
And my thing is, why don't take that energy to the Cameroonian FA? Because you should be trying to burn down their headquarters asking, why is that man playing against us? He born in Cameroon, dog. He born there, dog. Come now, man. And nobody gonna know that. Nobody. A man named Mbolo who black like this mic stand playing for Switzerland. Nobody ask, where that man from, boy? You know what I mean? So come on, dog. So they should take that energy to them. But I don't think the Jamaicans will bring that much heat. Obviously, I think if it's a born Jamaican playing against Jamaica and people find out and people like dig up his heritage and somebody find out, I think it would be an issue. But I don't think it would be like as venomous as like
what them do they.
Nah. Like if he score for Jamaica, somebody will go, if he parents still living in Jamaica, they will go there and jango them and I don't know that they just take football that seriously. They take track and field very seriously, but I don't know that they just take the football that seriously.
Well, that's what they're saying clearly because they say there's only ones they make the World Cup and they had the talent, so whatever, we go see how it go.
Yeah, right.
But let's go shut it down for tonight.
Yeah, you gotta chop up this one.
Yeah, nah man, we'll probably do a World Cup session. We go see. Yeah.
Oh, that's not No, I ain't wanna introduce that now.
You didn't see that spicy one, boy.
No,
the camera going out that space too. So yeah.
Alright, you go out.
Alright, cool, we out.